Hi, I'm Bybreen and welcome back to another episode of Soul-Stirring Astrology. The major aspect that's taking place this week is this full moon in Gemini that happens today on November the 25th or on the 26th, depending on which part of the world that you live in. So where we have a full moon, that means that the moon is opposing the sun. And here the moon is in Gemini in the 7th house, and we have the sun conjuncting Mercury, which is conjuncting Saturn in Sagittarius in the 1st house. So we've got this opposition, and it's a tight opposition that's going on between the sun and the moon. It's only 1 degree that separates them. So they're in mutable signs. Interestingly also, we've got Jupiter in Virgo and Neptune in Pisces in mutable signs. Now the signs are opposing each other, but the planets are not, which means that there's this very loose feeling of a mutable grand cross. The reason why it's not a tight grand cross in any way is because there's no aspect between Jupiter and Neptune. So the focus of the energy is around this new moon. So the new moon in Gemini, this is about, well, moons associated with home and love and compassion and care and feelings and support and protection. It's going on in Gemini, which is really a very busy, chatty, sociable sign. So it might be a time whereby you're having lots of mixed, different feelings. It's mutable. So where we're dealing with mutable energy, the key word here is about flexibility, being very flexible, flowing with the feelings that you have. And you might find it's a time whereby you're sharing your feelings and your sentiments with lots of different people, and or you're gathering lots of information, you're thinking and feeling about them, and then you're sharing them. So it's a great aspect actually if you're a curator, for example, so you're gathering information that you want to disseminate to a wide selection of people. The moon here also, because it's in the 7th house, could mean that you're looking for more compassion, love, care and support from your intimate partner, or from relationships that you're in, or from partnerships. It's opposing the sun. And so where we have this 1st house sun, and the reason why it's a 1st house sun is because the sun and Mercury moved into Sagittarius on November the 21st and 23rd. And so when we're dealing with 1st house issues, that's about me, I, personal. It's about what belongs to you, your identity. That's very meaningful to you. It's how you show up in the world. It's opposing the house of the other. And so the tension point here is, how much do you assert yourself, i.e. the sun in the 1st house, versus the need to cooperate with other people so that you feel part of a collective. But the fear around both of those positions is this: in the 1st house you might fear losing your identity, and then in the 7th house you might be, it's the other way around. So if you're cooperating with others, you might fear loss of your identity. But then if you're asserting your views and your needs over other people, they then may fear their sense of individuality. So you've got to strike a balance between showing up and being who you are, but also embracing the other point of view. Now that's been supported because Venus and Libra are the natural rulers and the sign in the natural zodiac of the 7th house. And so what they're really interested in is, it's about pleasure and harmony and fairness and balance within your relationship. So they're encouraging all of us to try and bring about a win-win in our relationships as we mediate this polarity between the sense of asserting ourselves together with the collaboration of other people. Coming back to the diverse views and feelings that you might be experiencing at the moment. Now, the moon, so we've got Gemini here, which is ruled by Mercury. So it's one of the rulers. The other one it rules is Virgo. And then we've got Mercury conjunct Saturn here in Sagittarius. Now, Mercury here is in a weaker position, and the reason being is because it's in Sagittarius, which means it's in its detriment. And this means because Mercury naturally rules this 7th house Gemini. And so because it's in a weaker position, Saturn here is the planet that has more powerful energy in the dynamic and aspect between these two planets. So you've got all of these diverse feelings and sentiments that you may have. Now with Saturn here, Saturn can ground, so you're being flexible, you're sharing all these different feelings, but Saturn can ground it all. It can give it some form and structure. And Mercury here supports that, because Mercury can then turn those different feelings and make them more coherent. You're able to articulate them and bring this broad perspective to what it is that you feel. The aspects also are tying in very nicely, because today is November the 25th, and it's also when the Chancellor George Osborne makes his autumn statement. So it's interesting because he's had a lot of backlash around his proposed cuts, particularly with the welfare budget and the tax credits, because they could have a really pernicious effect on people and families who have a low income. So because he's faced a lot of backlash, no doubt, obviously, he's been gathering his facts and his information, and then, you know, thinking and will have feelings around all of that. We've got this Mercury here in Sagittarius, and it's in a weaker position. So instead of Mercury always being on top of the facts, here it's about connecting with the public sentiment. So George Osborne would have taken account of public opinion, the views of the collective. So I wouldn't be surprised if he shares information that he sets the context of his cuts, because the cuts are coming, but actually they may be softened in some way. They may not be as harsh or as swinging as we expect. There might be a delay to the cuts coming in. So that's my hope anyway, but it's also been suggested by the planetary energies that actually this sense of wanting to see more people in society benefiting, and that ties in with the Sun in Sagittarius, which is about the well-being of other people. It's about justice and equality and law and fairness. And so the budget announcement, you know, the autumn statement taking place today on the full moon in Gemini, where facts have been gathered, where feelings have been expressed, and now the articulation of all of that, be interesting to see what he comes up with. So that's really it for this week, just in terms of the major aspect, where we have the Sun and Mercury and Saturn. On a personal level, they're pointing us towards our own personal philosophy. Are we grounded, i.e. Saturn, in our personal philosophies? And as a result of that groundedness, we're able to step forward confidently, but also to take a sense of having this sense of well-being for other people. So it's ourself and others, which ties in beautifully with this dichotomy, but actually it's a way to reconcile these two opposing views. So given that this mutable energy is all about change, the quote I want to leave you with this week is from Einstein, and what he said is, the sign and the measure of intelligence is about our ability to change. So let's hope that George Osborne makes those very positive changes. I hope that the changes that you make in your world are not going to be too overpowering, or they're so disparate that you're unable to get hold of them. Use this energy, use your wisdom, use your focus in terms of articulating what it is that you want, but coming from your emotional centre. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked it, feel free to share it with other people. If you have a takeaway from this week's episode, I would love to hear that. Put that in the comment box below. Or if you have any other planets, feel free to share them. Also, you can like and subscribe to the channel. Have a great week, and I look forward to speaking to you again next week.